For want of the price of tea and a slice, the old man died. If it was $100,000 of tea and slice, welcome to Sync Floyd, the podcast where we watch every movie ever made to see if it syncs up with Pink Floyd's 1973 magnum opus, The Dark Side of the Moon. My name is Gareth Blackler, and standing at the top of these stairs in a towel, it's James Barron.
Hello, I'm the little man that lives in your chest, Gareth, and tells you when things are going wrong. It's James Barron here.
Ah, that is you. Often it's when my jokes are going wrong.
Yeah.
The little man quickly saves the audience.
I deprive you of food. You're like, no, that joke wasn't good enough for you to eat today, Gareth. That's the rules. That's podcast law.
Yeah, it's true. Gosh, that's why Joe Rogan doesn't have any co-hosts, is he had to eat them.
He ate them all.
Yeah,
He
they deprived him of food.
He invites guests to the show and then asks them if it's okay if he eats them, and very few say yes, but
Yeah.
So it goes for old Joe. He's ravenous.
Ravenous Joe.
Ravenous Joe. Oh.
Wow. Gosh, are we flying off the 15-mile-an-hour train already?
Absolutely.
It's Sync Floyd, all right?
It sure is.
We watch movies, we watch them on mute, but ticking along to the side of this is the music of a popular rock ensemble named Pink Floyd, and we see where the music lines up with that.
Yep.
And it's what we do, and it's episode 70 of what we do, which is wild.
Yeah.
Gosh.
Number 70. I love that you're introducing it as if someone's like, I'm only going to listen to the 70th episode.
Yeah. I do wonder that. I wonder if, because like iTunes default puts the number in front of the episode, and I wonder if that's scaring off new friends. Like,
maybe.
They're like, 60 episodes, I'll never catch up. Not realizing, like, we don't even remember what's happened in previous episodes.
Absolutely not. No, I'm not, and I'm not about to start remembering.
No, gosh.
But yeah, we've obliquely referenced it, but what movie did we watch this week?
We watched 1944's Double Indemnity, which is you suggested this.
I did.
Do you have a relationship with this film, James?
I don't at all. I wanted to choose a film that I thought would be good, a movie I hadn't seen before at the time I suggested it, and I was like, yeah, I just was in the noir mood, you know? I wanted to delve into some classic cinema, and Double Indemnity was one that had been recommended to me in the past, and I was like, well, it's time to give it a watch. And it did twice, once with the sounds of Pink Floyd playing over top, as we do on the show.
Yes.
What are your thoughts? Thoughts on Double Indemnity as a film outside of that sinking?
I bloody loved it. This film is like, it's like being in a room of silk and then touching some nice cold clear glass but leaving no fingerprints. It's just...
Yeah.
It's very good. It's very artificial. Like, nobody talks the way they talk in real life. But it's so beautiful and well done, and it's amazing to see a noir that is just all the cliches of a noir, like, but good. Because, to be honest, I don't think I'd seen a proper noir, and I've probably only seen, like, short-form improv scenes where they have to do a film noir.
Yeah.
And, like, to see, like, that's kind of... This might not be where it comes from, but this is the masters of it at work.
Yeah, this is one of the prime examples of a film noir. Like, it's cited as one of the ones that set the rules for the genre, basically, or set the groundwork. It's definitely, it's got the cliches there, but it's because it's like hitting them for the first time, you know?
Yes.
Yeah.
You love it. You love seeing a cliche invented. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it was beautiful. And I will say, my other thing is, after watching last week's movie, every movie is so good now.
Yeah.
Like, I saw, between this episode and the last one recording, I saw Jungle Cruise.
Oh, wow.
And An American Pickle and Ready or Not, which are all like prime examples of 3-star films, like in the popular consciousness. I loved all of them. Everything was just hitting me right. I was just so happy that films can be like films. It was, oh my goodness.
The sun is brighter.
I've been like,
food tastes better in your mouth.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh, it's, honestly, put yourself through a bad film and you won't regret it. It's very nice.
It'll make the next 5 films better.
Yeah. I should time these next films well then, like what I'm going to watch to truly appreciate them.
Yeah.
And then I have to go back to watching Food Fight again to reset.
No. Never subject yourself back to it. I feel like it's a magic that only works once, you know?
Yeah.
We'll have to find... no doubt will happen. We've still got episodes left of this show. We'll find another bad film, and then we'll feel much happier and sunnier about the next films that we watch. I'm sure.
Yeah. It's like chasing the next high, but we're chasing the next low.
Yeah, man. Just taking a bunch of downers before I go to this party.
Yeah.
Amazing. So I have no real relationship with Double Indemnity except that I thought it was sick. I loved it. Yeah, this movie is a damn good watch. So seek it out, watch it before listening to this podcast, and then you'll be along for the ride with us. If you don't want to, that's fine, but I recommend it.
Yeah, that's also fine.
Yeah, I'm not your dad. I'm not your podcast dad.
No. This is also, I think, this might be one of the only movies I'd never heard of until it was suggested. Like, I think I hit you with a couple of those every so often.
Oh, absolutely,
but you're better at knowing, like, what the audience are going to click on. So you often choose films that I'd heard of. I thought this was Double Jeopardy, which is a Tommy Lee Jones film. I watched at like 3 p.m. on a Saturday in high school. So I was going in ready for like, I think there's an oil rig involved and Tommy Lee Jones is on the oil rig trying to stop a criminal, like an anti-hero, and it was completely different.
Right.
I was also told that Orson Welles was in this.
Oh.
And when you're waiting the whole film to see Orson Welles and you don't see Orson Welles and you begin to doubt if you know what Orson Welles looks like. It's a very interesting experience.
Yeah, he's super not in it. There is a Orson Welles type, I would say, in Keys. He's sort of similar. But I wouldn't say, like he could well have been played by Orson Welles, but isn't. But yeah, like definitely a prominent actor in noir cinema, but yeah, not appearing in this film, you know. But that's all good. I'm glad you enjoyed it regardless. Yeah.
Well, I want to talk more about this Keys fellow, so we better get into this movie because I also want to talk about a lot of other parts of it.
Yeah.
This might be a particularly, you know, if you don't like rivers and waterfalls, then you're not going to enjoy all the gushing we've got on this episode.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. We are open faucets here for this film, so this might be a long one. I don't know, but I'm ready to talk about it regardless.
It might also just be a lot of, that was good. That was good. The next scene is...
That has happened before, definitely. I think our Spider-Verse episode is mostly just me going like, that was real cool, like the whole time, and that was about it. But, you know.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Look. Podcasts are often like sitting next to 2 kids on the bus who have just coming back from the cinema, and we love them for it.
Yeah, right? That's the service we provide. While you can't ride the bus with kids that you've just seen a film with at this point in time, we're happy to provide that service. Just imagine, place yourself in the picture at the back of the bus with 2 idiots either side of you. All right?
Yeah.
Right.
And you've taken those kids to 1944's Double Indemnity.
Hell yeah.
We're like, we can't wait to see how Raymond Chandler and Billy Wilder teamed up to write such a thing.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my goodness.
Fred McMurray is playing against type.
These are some fucking great kids. I want to meet these kids. Yeah. They're wonderful. Okay. Let's dive into this team up, as you say. It's really cool that it was like a team up there in the directing as well. Like, both prominent
Those
directors.
two hated each other, by the way.
Did they?
Yeah. They hated each other in the way that I find Pink Floyd, the members of Pink Floyd, seem to hate each other these days.
Wow.
Where they just, like, Raymond Chandler would write letters to the studio complaining about Billy Wilder. Like, having to share an office with him. Because Raymond Chandler looked down on Hollywood so much that he was like, yeah, I'll write this movie, but I only want, like, this much an hour, and I'll just churn it out in a weekend. Yeah. So he, like, walked in on the Monday, handed them a script, which was just the original book, but he'd essentially changed everything from, like, said John to John, ... to the line. And they were like, no, you have to write this with a guy. There's more to this than you think.
What an asshole.
I know. They just thought about, like, blinds a lot, the blinds in their office all the time.
Wow. There you go.
Which, yeah, now blinds are a huge part of noir.
Paid off.
Who's to say?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Prominent feature. It's all planning. It's all seeding there for the genre to arise. Amazing. All right, let's dive on in, shall we, about the film proper. 3, 2, 1, sync. We've got as you know, opening titles, Speak to Me, Paramount logo, opening credits for this movie. Of course, like in the 40s, we get the credits now, and we've got. I'd like the style of these. We've got a man on crutches, silhouetted, walking towards the camera very slowly with dramatic music playing, that of Pink Floyd in this instance. And yeah, like it's like a nice little visual symbol for the film that you don't really know about until you get halfway through and you see everything unfolding. Like you don't really understand what's going on here, but I like it a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, we get into Breathe, and we see a car driving erratically to the offices of like a financial risk building, and we see our main character Walter going up with his classic fedora hat and coat on, like big overcoat covering him because it's pouring with rain, I think. And yeah, climbing on up into the building. Going up the elevator, like being very standoffish. And then, yeah, we see him sit down in his office, and you see here that he's been shot in the shoulder.
Yes.
And is bleeding out, and starts recording a message on like a little dictaphone kind of thing to his boss, Keys. And yeah, it's very the mood already established in these opening shots is just awesome. And this whole movie is basically narrated by Walter telling the story as a retrospective in like this confession tape to Keys. And it's just like a really slick framing device, and it's really fun to watch this slowly play out as he breaks everything down. It's sort of him like showing off to Keys in a weird way, because he knows that everything's going to fall apart, but he just wants to get it straight and show and prove himself, like, to Keys, this man that he respects. That
he loves Keys. Like, it's not even a theory. He outright says, they outright like admit to loving each other.
Yeah.
But like, it's such a cool read on this, like the second time with the Pink Floyd, to like kind of see, exactly. He's showing off to Keys. He's like, Keys, look at me. I outsmarted you. Here's all this stuff.
Yeah.
Even stuff like later a car doesn't start until he tries to start it. And it's just like, Keys, did you see that? That was pretty cool, eh?
Pretty sweet, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's really good. The relationship that like builds with them, like throughout the movie, is just wonderful. So we'll get there though. So
I also love that this is a film that's in like a second person narration. Like, Keys, you would be interested to find this out. Like, it makes me half want to do this podcast like directed towards a single person, but I'm worried that might put off everyone who's not named Josh.
Shoutouts to you, Josh. Here's how we did it, Josh. Here's how we watched the films, Josh.
Yeah.
All right, listen up. You thought we were watching them with Pink Floyd, but little did you know we were watching them synced perfectly with Pink Floyd. All right? Did you ever think that, Josh?
Josh? We love you, Josh. We're so impressed.
Big ups to you, Josh. I hope you're still listening after we called you out so many times. Josh's ears are burning. Yeah. So yeah, he's like, proving basically that he could have gotten away with it, and confessing to this murder. He's like, Keys, you knew you had it all figured out, but you didn't figure it out fully, and I'm going to tell you what happened. And yeah, we go into On the Run, and we also get this recurring motif of Walter lighting his own cigarette with this like flick move. We establish it this early. He lights it, like he strikes the match using his thumb on one hand, which is a cool trick. I don't know if I could actually do this, but then I haven't lit that many matches. It's a very practiced motion, but I like that this is a recurring thing in the film. So he's like laying it out. He says that he killed this person, killed Diedrichson for the money and for a woman, and that he didn't get the money and then he didn't get the woman. Funny how that happens. It's like such slick classic noir dialogue. There's a lot that I'm going to gush over here, so get ready.
It's also cool because it's like it's set everything that happens. Like if you were again the kids on the bus kind of saying what's going on, it's like you already know it didn't work. You've pretty much, if you've been paying enough attention, you notice he's been shot. Like it's all there, and now you just get to watch like
everything unfold.
I don't know if I've used this analogy on the podcast before, but it's when you play Age of Mythology and you use the PC game, and you use the thing that lets you see the other side of the map, and then your little map is one lit up bit, and then your lit up bit where your town is, and then you slowly get to fill out what's in between as you send people over. It's that kind of narrative. There's probably a proper word for that, but this movie does it. My favorite author, Emily St. John Mandel, does it so well, where she'll light up little bits of your Age of Empire map. And then at the end, it's pretty much just like, and here's that last bit. And you're like, oh, wow.
Very nice.
Yeah, I can only assume all these people play Age of Mythology.
It's kind of...
That's what inspired their films.
I'm trying to think of if there is a term. It's like kind of in media res, I suppose. That except it's right at the end. It shows you the end and then shows you how you got there. I don't know. There's definitely a word for it, but I don't know what it is.
Yeah. Because that's me, I suppose you're wondering how I got here. Movie storytelling. It kind of, that only sets one thing, and usually it's like right before the end. But to say like, here's what happened, but we're that confident that you're going to stick around and find out like how that happened.
Well, it just, it lays the breadcrumbs, right? It's like Walter's been shot, which is something fairly dramatic, and like you're wondering, he's like clearly being very standoffish and weird, and then when we see him first time, he's like completely different. So you're just wondering how he gets from point A to point B, so yeah. And we're about to find out. We go into, the crash sound as we cut to flashback, which is pretty good. The first start. He goes up to this Diedrichson's house. Diedrichson? I'm trying to get that right. It's tough. He's just got to renew some insurance. He's an insurance salesman guy. So fast talking, smarmy kind of thing. Interesting that this noir story doesn't involve the police like at all. Which is cool. Like it's all about insurance, which doesn't sound very interesting on paper, but it ends up being like fascinating.
Insurance investigators are really interesting. Like there should be like a podcast about that, or like I suppose they're not allowed to talk about a lot of it, but they're often former police or former detectives who've like gone for this because it's a little quieter. But like people will still, especially because now so much money is on the line. People will lose it to them, and they're often like the toughest people. Like I've met one who had like someone take out their, I hope I can tell this, they took out their glass eye and threw it at him.
Whoa, that's wild.
I only heard this was maybe a fourth hand story, to be honest.
I mean, that is well worth it, and that that is a story worth telling. Holy moly.
What a risky maneuver.
Absolutely. Goodness
what
me.
if you break your eye or you lose, the person catches it?
You're sure? Yeah, like they catch it just in their pocket. The classic, like at a hibachi grill. Amazing. Everyone claps.
Yeah.
Oh no. Oh, I'm like fully off track of where I was now, but that's okay.
Sorry, I just hope that after this movie came out, a lot more people got jobs in insurance, wanting to be as cool as our boy Keys.
Yeah, I hope
and
so.
To a lesser extent, our boy Walter.
Yeah, I hope so too. But yeah, he's here to renew some insurance on Mr. Dietrichson's car, but he isn't home and goes to, like, the maid answers the door. And he just like bolshes past her, like pushes straight past her, and is like, I've got to go in and see. Well, is there anyone else here? And she's like, well, Mrs. Dietrichson's home, and he's like, let me go and talk to her, and just like lets himself in. And she appears at the top of the stairs, wearing a towel wrapped around herself, like me in the intro. And Walter is immediately enamored with her, and she goes and basically he explains what he's here to do, like with the insurance and stuff. I'm getting flustered thinking about it.
It's like there is steam in this scene. It is like, oh my goodness. I'm surprised, like this is pre the modern censorship code and stuff. I'm surprised this made it to air. This is more sexual than any porno.
Whoa!
Like, so, I said that like I'd never said it before. Like I was a mum in the 70s. I caught him watching
the word porno. Incredible.
It's oh my goodness. I was fanning myself. I could only think about the maid still in the room listening to these two.
Just third wheeling it over in the side, like really angry. I like that she gets visibly angry about this interaction. She also never shows back up, but that's fine. Presumed dead. And so Walter delivers one of my favorite lines in the movie here, like one of the most quotable, where he says, I'd worry about you having a smashed fender or something while you're not ... fully covered. Incredible. Iconic. So many like great lines and clever dialogue. It's just nice watching a film with good dialogue for bloody once. Made me very happy. But this happens over all the clocks going off as well. And he goes off to wait for her to come down, and he's like, "Where's the liquor cabinet?" to the maid, and the maid says, "It's in there, but they keep the liquor locked up," like really angry. And then he's like, "That's all right. I always carry my own keys," which is just another sweet line. Oh, it's just wonderful.
Yeah. He then feeds her fish, which is a weird move.
Yeah, it's very weird. They're just sitting here. We get the establishment of Mr. Dietrichson and Lola here as well and pictures, enormous pictures on the piano. Just to establish them as characters very early, which I like. And then Mrs. Dietrichson comes down. And he's like fallen for her already. It's very steamy, this scene. He comments on her having an anklet, which is the height of sexiness. And they like chat for a bit, and then she brings up accident insurance, which is supposed to be our first supposed sign of bad news, of trouble on the horizon, basically. And then he's completely ignoring it and just still flirting with her, and they make an arrangement to that he'll come back to the house the following day to see Mr. Dietrichson. And she has another great line here. The interplay between them when he's hitting on her and she says, "There's a speed limit in this state, Mr. Neff, and it's 45 miles an hour, and I'd say you're going about 90.
Yeah.
Which is, it's just so good. Dynamite. You really buy the like chemistry between these two as well.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
Yeah. That's
like,
awesome.
Again, they're not speaking like how people speak, but
no.
These like sexy robots, you're like, yep. Tell me how they betray each other.
Show me more sexy robots. Why are we not getting the sexy robots show? I need that in my life. All right, Netflix, you listening?
Yeah.
Taps microphone.
We want sexy robots.
Yeah. Bring on the fast talking sexy robot show, and I'll tune in every day of the week. All right.
I just had a terrible feeling that we've tried to pitch a sexy robot show to Netflix on this podcast before.
I mean, I stand by it. Still hasn't happened, Netflix. Come on.
Yeah. Hurry it up.
Step it up. I'm just using this as my soapbox to yell at Netflix.
The podcast means nothing to you until you get your sexy robot show.
Absolutely. It wasn't worth it. Yeah. So, he goes and says goodbye and thinks about her all the way home with the date to meet her the following day. And then we get Key's introduction here as we go. We jump out of time solo and we meet Mr. Key's. He's interviewing, he's looking over a claim from a Mr. Garlopus here, who is like suspected of basically making a fraudulent claim on his truck, and that like he blew up his own truck to claim the insurance money or crashed it or something. And yeah, Keyes doesn't buy it for a second and is just like being very harsh to this Mr. Garlopus guy. He's really nasty in that he treats him like an absolute idiot and tells him how to open the door to let himself out. Like, there's the door handle, just give it a turn and the door will open. It's so mean. But yeah, and this is, we also get his introduction of his little man that we referenced earlier. There's a little man that lives inside Key's chest and always tells him when something's up, when someone's lying or something's not right. And it doesn't let him eat, doesn't let him sleep until he gets it solved. And that's why he's such a good claims manager guy here at the insurance agency. I really
bloody love Keyes.
Is
that what you were about to say?
Absolutely. We were about to sing together there.
We were singing in the same key just then.
Absolutely, yeah. Love Keyes, love his energy. He's this little firecracker guy, and he's just so wonderful in every scene that he is. He steals the show, I think.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
We
to the point where the poster is like Walter and Phyllis in a like sexy embrace.
Yeah.
And then they've just pretty much just stuck Key's head to the side, like looking at them like, whoa.
I didn't figure this.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
We need more like of him just on posters reacting to it, like, whoa, these guys are blue.
We need to Photoshop his little head into all the Marvel posters that have all the like arrangements of heads and stuff. Oh my god, that'd be the best.
Keyes.
Just Keyes.
Man, this purple guy means trouble.
Yeah. He starts his own little YouTube show where he's talking about what his little man says.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. Real into it.
Netflix, get on it.
Get on it. Give me the keys. Give me the keys show.
Give me your keys. You're drunk, Netflix.
Go home. So we get just the boys interacting now. Key's having a chat with his boss, and you see that they're really good friends. That like have a go at one another, but Walter is they're like very chummy with each other. And then Walter does this thing. Keyes can never like figure out where his lighter is or whatever, and so Walter always lights a match using his trick and lights Keyes' cigar for him as a recurring thing here, using his magical trick that I kind of want to learn.
I think they don't make matches like that anymore.
No.
Like, they're safer now.
Safety matches. There's they're like the self-striking ones, I guess. The phosphorus on the end, but now they've got the little strike strip or whatever. So, oh well.
You could find it. You could hide the actual strip from a matchbox on your fingers, and then everyone will believe you. Yeah.
Or I just buy, hello, I'd like to buy unsafe matches, please.
Yeah.
No reason. Just want to light them for fun.
Yeah.
Sure, that'll go well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, they're just hanging out, and then Walter goes back to his office, and Phyllis. Sorry, I should have mentioned Mrs. Dietrichson's first name is Phyllis, and I'm going to refer to her as Phyllis for the rest of these notes. Yeah, so she's changed the time of the meeting, which is suspicious, because basically she's trying to change it to a time where they can be alone. It's pretty obvious that she doesn't want the husband to be there on the next meeting because she still has stuff that she wants to talk about to Walter. And Walter's like, yeah, I'm fine with that. I've got stuff on, but I'm going to put it aside so I can go see this beautiful woman that I've fallen in love with.
That sums up his kind of character arc so perfectly.
Yeah.
Like, suddenly, he don't care.
Yeah, absolutely. He's like proper in love at this stage. I feel like that changes as the movie goes on, and I'm going to comment on that when it does. But anyway.
Oh, good.
Yeah, so he goes around there and has an iced tea, which would be better with a bit of rum in it, is something that he says. He also says when he shows up, she was like, I hope you weren't busy. And he says, I was just working on my stamp collection, which is another just banger of a line. And then, she brings up again this idea of accident insurance for her husband, who again he works in the oil industry. It's like like down in mines or something, and it's very dangerous. And so she's like, oh, I need to get him accident insurance, but of course he'd never agree to it. He'd never sign on to it. Because he's a curmudgeon, he'd never want to do it. So is there a way that we could get the insurance without him knowing about it? So pretty obvious what's happening here. And Walter clicks to it like immediately. He doesn't take the bait at all, which is really interesting. He's like, it's pretty clear that she wants to put a claim on her husband and then kill him somehow. And so he's saying that as much to her face, and she's like, no, that's not at all what I'm implying at all. You've got me all wrong. And then he like storms out of there. It's good. It's like a refusal of the call kind of thing for the character. He runs out of there like very upset, very angry. It goes to try and like distract himself by like, he goes to like a diner and goes bowling and stuff. We just see him do this.
Yeah. He goes to what seems to be a drive-in bar, which is chaotic, and it's like irresponsibility.
It's amazing. It's a very 1940s idea. But yeah, it's awesome. But yeah, he spots it a mile away and is just like torn up about it. There's a few notes also that I want to go over about this policy that get established here, because this spoilers, this accident policy does end up happening. It's a $50,000 capital sum if the person that is insured would die as part of an accidental death. So it's like a special thing in there, and the name double indemnity is a clause in the insurance policy that means it pays double in a certain accident, like a freak accident, basically. Which is a real thing, and that's where the movie gets its name. So he's trying to get this whole thing out of his head, And it's described by Walter by future Walter over the narration that he's got his hand held onto a red hot poker, and he knows that he should let it go, but he can't. Which is it's a really good image. It's like the perfect way to describe this. And he says like I hadn't let go of the poker at all. This was just the beginning. Phyllis shows up at his sad little apartment up here, and she's like, "How did you find me?" And she's like, "Phone book."
Yeah.
And she
and I love that she's like, "You forgot your hat," and she's not carrying his hat, and we saw him leave with his hat.
Yeah,
there's no effort to that lie.
It's great. It's so perfect because like the last thing you saw like just earlier him pick up his hat and leave. So, oh man, hat count is the hat fully accounted for, but he still lets her in because you know, and he's like they have a bit of a tryst. He's like, you couldn't leave it like that, and she says something really interesting. She says, I want you to be nice to me. Like when we first met on that first day, I don't want you to be mean to me. And her whole thing is that her husband is mean to her and doesn't treat her right. And it's very like half-baked. All of her excuses that she goes into here about her husband and how he treats her, like it's all very airy-fairy. At one point she does say that he gets drunk and slaps her face, but like earlier she was saying that he's just mean to her. It doesn't add up as like it sounds fake, you know?
Yeah.
Like it genuinely, I think it's something that she's just like trying to goad Walter with. I don't actually buy that as true. Yeah,
like he's definitely a jerk.
Oh yeah.
For some reason thinks she's going to buy too many hats when we meet him. But like
he's just
now that we kind of she's very like I think she's quite an agent of chaos, really.
Yeah.
I think she's just seeing all happen and she's just kind of making stuff up to see what's gonna land.
He's like
and she's got this guy hooked already. Though.
Absolutely, yeah. She loves messing with people in a sort of psychological way, and moving people around as if they were chess pieces. I think is her whole deal. And her husband is just like a angry oil baron who just has a lot of money and doesn't want to part with it. Like that's just his character, so you know. But I don't know. I personally don't buy it that it's like a domestic abuse thing, but anyway. He's saying like they have a talk about it and Walter is like pretty clear about there's no way to do it. There's no way that this goes the way that you think it's going to go. You're always going to go to jail. He tells her various stories about like phony claims made where the wife has killed the husband, and every time the story ends with the lady going to jail and getting the electric chair, and it's pretty bleak. And this, we're in money for this. And when he's telling these stories is when we get the line, the right at the end of Money, where they're just like refraining, giving none away, which is pretty nice.
Yeah,
works for insurance, in my opinion. They have a bit more of a chat. Walter like talks about his home life, where he basically doesn't have any friends, or he just lives in this apartment by himself, goes to like the drugstore for food, and like just lives alone, goes to work. That's sort of it. So she is like envious of this life because she has people in her life who she supposedly cares about, but they don't treat her the way that she wants. And so she's jealous of him, like only knowing strangers because they don't treat him badly, which is pretty dark. But
there's both like they've both got such deep kind of implied weird lives.
Yeah.
Like Well, actually, kind of the opposite of Walter. Like, and his whole house is empty. He's got 3 framed photos of like men throwing fisticuffs above his bed. I mean, above his couch. Like, I think there's a great scene in the show Barry where the eponymous Barry just goes to a store and buys what's on the mannequin because he's trying to like fit in. It's very much the vibe I get from Walter. I think she struck gold finding this like weird, lonely man who's just like, if you're looking at me, I'll kill a man for you.
Exactly. Like, he's like, she picks him as like the classic Rube. Yeah. Like, that's a great read, honestly. I really like that. But yeah, and he says, once she goes into the stuff about her husband being mean to her and slapping her face, etc. They come together and he gives her a big old kiss.
It fades back to the dictaphone.
Yes,
and kind of confesses to Keys that he gonna do it.
Yeah, exactly. He says, I thought about it long and hard in this moment, and then he decided that he'll go and kill the guy for this woman. But also, the way he describes it is quite interesting, in that he talks about he looks at these claims every day, all the different ways that people try and trick the insurance agency, and he's saying, I see it so often that like I couldn't help but think about the right way to do it, the way to do it and get away with it, you know?
Yeah.
All the tricks that you'd have to do in order to not get caught yourself. And then he just waited for the opportunity to arrive on his doorstep, and then here it was. Like, this is super important for me, I think, and that like Walter is just as culpable in this whole thing, because he was kind of waiting for this kind of thing to happen, and that he has the perfect way to he's the type of personality that would isn't satisfied with what he's doing and where he is, and so he wants to get one over on the system. And yeah, it's really interesting that like he lays that out here as like an extra thing, because I feel like as the movie progresses, it shifts from his motivations being like, I love Phyllis and I'll do anything to be with her, to the scheme being what he's really in love with. Like, yeah, it's really interesting. And
I like that a lot. That's a really good read. It's very much he's like someone who would walk out of a crime film and be like, nah, they didn't do it right. Here's what I would have done.
Exactly. Yeah.
Or like he'd be really quick at pointing out a plot hole in a film. And then it's kind of later when Keyes points out the plot holes in his scheme, he did not see them coming at all. He was just so enamored with his like, this is how it would be done. This is what would work.
He's too close to it, and that he can't see it. Like, that's a recurring theme, right? And that like Keyes is so close to the case that he couldn't see Walter as the culprit. And also like, Walter is so close to his plan for how this is all going to go that he couldn't see the whole. Like, it's very clever. Anyway, yes. So he agrees to kill Mr. Dietrichson and claim the insurance money. He says the stakes are $50,000 and also the life of a man, which is a good line. And he says, we've got to do it, but if I'm going to do it and I'm going to help you do it, but if we do it, it has to be perfect. Everything has to be right. And he says straight down the line, which is another recurring line through the movie, where it means like having everything go right and everything be perfect and riding the train right to the end and getting away with it, you know? And it's a very, I feel like it should have been the tagline for the movie. Just like straight down the line. It's just like a really good line.
Even the title.
Oh, yeah, that would work as well. Yeah. I like it. But yeah, so he watches her go, and then the plan is to get Dietrichson to sign onto the insurance application without knowing that he's signing this accident insurance policy. So basically, the plan is get him to sign the policy on his cars, and then get him to and trick him into signing the other policy underneath as if it were a duplicate of the same thing.
Yeah.
Which is like, the plan could all fall apart if he notices this or reads a piece of paper.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Like, it's really bad. But anyway.
Yeah.
And in order to get this right, there also needs to be a witness of somebody impartial to the crime who can vouch for them, like, for nothing untoward happening. And so Phyllis picks Lola, the daughter, from Mr. Dietrichson's first marriage. We find out a bit later that I think, we may have found out already that Phyllis was the nurse of Mr. Dietrichson's wife. And when she died, they got married. Like shortly after, I think.
Yeah, 6 months later or something.
Yeah. And so, Lola really resents Phyllis in that regard. And Phyllis knows that. So they go around to the house and do this plan, and then Lola leaves in a huff to go and see her friends, quote unquote, but actually she's going to visit her secret boyfriend, who we'll get to in a little bit. Mr. Dietrichson is very upset by the whole situation, but eventually does sign, and goes off to bed, and then as they go to leave, as Walter goes to leave, he says that Mr. Dietrichson has to take the train to his high school reunion. Apparently there's a high school reunion that Mr. Dietrichson goes to every year.
Yeah, it's his only treat.
Yeah, and he bloody loves it. Just seeing all his old schoolmates again. Oh, what a guy. But anyway, he has to take the train to go to this because it's all part of the plan. And so Phyllis agrees. And then as Walter goes to leave, Lola is hiding out in his car and wants to get a ride into town. And so he obliges that. And she talks about her boyfriend, Nino Zacchetti, which is another wonderful name. Who's this, like, it's sort of you get everything you need to know about Nino Zacchetti in this one direction, basically, and that he was a pre-med student who got kicked out for being too hot-headed, basically, and it all blowing up in his face. So sort of like a screw-up, angry kid. And then when you see him, he is perfectly fits that mold. He just starts yelling at Walter for no reason and then walks off, and Lola has to chase after him. So, Lola, he's a bit upset about having to interact with Lola because he'd rather keep himself as far removed from the case as possible, right? From all these supposedly impartial people. But now he's got this relationship with Lola and that they've had a conversation when he's going to kill her dad next week.
Yeah.
It's pretty messed up. And so he's having a bit of a moral quandary about that as he's driving home. As we're into brain damage over this. And then we go to a supermarket where the two can interact, where Phyllis and Walter can interact with each other and not get spotted. They could accidentally run into each other here at the supermarket if they arrange to meet, and this is a scene that gets mirrored later, and I'll talk about it then, which I really like. But they keep very separate from each other and have a conversation. And whenever anyone comes to take anything off a shelf, they pause conversation, and as so that they don't get found out what they're talking about. Basically, it's all very stealthy.
Yeah,
and
I don't know. I feel like I mean, I've got no better scheme, but I feel like it must have been a better place to meet.
It's not a good one, absolutely, but they basically chose a place where it could be conceived that they just ran into each other there if they ever got found out, and then presumably they would change meeting place if that happened. That makes sense to me as a schemer.
Okay, schemers recognize schemers then.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. This movie was shot during World War II. And there was a food shortage, obviously. And so this supermarket full of like fake food and some real food was like heavily guarded by police to make sure no one broke in to try to get the food.
That's fascinating. Oh my God.
So in any, just out of shot all the time are like security and police being like, you can harm our stars, but don't you dare touch these jars of avocado. Jars of avocados. Oh no, people are realizing I'm a sexy robot.
Oh no.
These jars of pickle.
The classic jar of avocados that we millennials enjoy when we're not having promiscuous sex. Yeah. So basically the information that's gathered here is that the policy has gone ahead. They've got the first check for the accident, not the accident policy, the other one, the car repayment. Yeah. So everything's all good to go. And the other one has also gone through. And so hands those over to Phyllis to put in a safety deposit box for later. But unfortunately, there's a complication in the plan that will be the undoing here. Mr. Dietrichson has broken his leg. And is now no longer going to his reunion. And they're like, fuck, okay, what are we going to do? And he's like, well, we've got to call it off. And she's like, no, we can't call it off now. There's other ways of doing this. And he's like, no, it has to be this exact way. Otherwise, it's not going to work. Yeah. And yeah, they're like at each other's throats. Losing their nerve is how it's described here. And she's really missing seeing Walter because they can't like interact in a loving way at all. They have to be very standoffish with each other until this is all over. And she's not liking that. So we go into Eclipse, and Keyes goes into Walter's office and offers him a job, which is really interesting because it's like he's offering Walter like a way out. Presumably at this point, the plan is all fucked, right? Everything is screwed up. It's not going to go ahead. The guy's broken his leg, so he's not going to go. And so even now, when Keyes comes in and offers Walter a job with a pay cut, no doubt, $50 is a lot of money in 1940s time. But still, it's like he'd be working closer with Keyes and be his like right-hand man, basically. Walter refuses the job even before like what's about to happen happens, which is really fascinating. He's still like thinking about this plan to me. Like he's not at all like he considers it, but it's like he doesn't value that as much as this plan, I think, in this moment.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And Keyes describes this job as the coolest thing in the world.
Oh, my God.
What, part superhero, part bloodhound, part, like, surgeon?
Yeah.
Just being a claims investigator.
His metaphor, he, like, makes... he makes insurance so romantic sounding.
Yeah.
It's awesome. It's fascinating, even though he's like, this job isn't pushing pencils. It's like it's amazing. It's the most satisfying thing you'll ever do. It's really good. But yeah,
it's such a nice way to exactly like you said, show that he's that deep in his plan.
Yeah,
it's just like offer him the greatest thing in the world, being a pencil pusher for Keyes.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, so he refuses already, and then while they're still like Keyes is arguing and saying like, you should do it, it'll be great. He gets a call on the phone from Phyllis in his office, so he has to pretend like nothing is amiss.
Yeah,
while talking to her.
Keyes won't leave.
Yeah, he's just hanging out here because he's still pushing his agenda of like, be my assistant. And so he has to pretend it's this girl that he's seeing, Margie, this made-up person. But anyway, Phyllis is letting him know that the plan is going ahead. The doctor has said that it's all right for Mr. Dietrichson to take the train and go to his high school reunion as like a special treat. Even though he's broken his leg.
He didn't take a lollipop, he just got like this letter instead.
Yeah, so he's allowed to go and now is going to take the train tonight. So the plan is back on. And yeah, so it's just important timing wise that this comes after that. Yeah. I just wanted to make that clear. And yeah, so they're going to go over some minor details as we go into the second play of the album, Speak to Me. And it's very dramatic as it's ramping up, and Keys is saying, he's like really disappointed in Walter for not seeing this as the opportunity that it is. Like he like is really put out because he thought they were like closer friends, I think. And then, he's like, you're not as, I thought you were smarter than the rest, but you're just taller. Which is very good.
Oh, Keys. Yeah.
Keys also tells a little story about how his little man got him out of marrying his last wife, or his potential bride. Like, he was like ready to go to the ceremony, and then his little man intervened and was like, don't do it. And then it turned out she was like a tramp who was trying to take his money or whatever.
Yeah, his words.
Yeah. Oh, ridiculous.
Some of the stuff, though, like, I think it would have been fine if he just talked to her about it, because his little man intervened instead. He was like, no, it must be bad.
No, he's too caught up in his gut instinct. It's really funny. But yeah, it works out for him, so whatever.
His little man was just jealous of the little man on the wedding cake.
Yeah.
Kind of Keys having two little men in his life.
There can only be one.
Yeah.
The Highlander rules of little men.
Yeah.
So that's what the movie Little Men is about, as opposed to Little Women.
Yeah. There is a Little Men.
Is there?
Yeah, I can't remember the details. I can't remember if it's the same author or not.
Oh, wow.
Of course. You've got to have the all-male reboot.
Oh, of course. Wonderful.
And isn't there also Little Man, where one of the Wayans plays a baby with a CGI man's face?
Whoa. No, I don't want that to be true.
Oh, I wanted that to be the animation for the little man. It's just a little Keys baby.
Oh, God.
So, like, don't trust him.
Like, coming out of his chest like that one character in Fifth Element. Not Fifth Element. In what's the Arnie movie? Oh, God.
Oh, my gosh. No, don't you mean Men in Black 2?
I don't... maybe. I don't know. The comments will get at me. Never mind. Yeah, so we're gonna continue on. Walter puts his plan into action, and he like narrates the entire thing step by step about how everything plays out. It's like clockwork, him moving around and making sure people see him at certain times, and other times no one sees him. And yeah, it's like he's just moving the pieces around like a game board, you know? Yeah. All establishing like plausible alibis for his location at the time of the murder and things like that. It's really interesting. And Pink Floyd sing Race Towards an Early Grave at the end of Breathe, and we go into On the Run as he walks up to the Dietrichson house and hides in the back of the car that's going to take them to the train station. Mrs. Dietrichson, Phyllis, like throws a coat over him over the back seat. Like they exchange a look as they're ready to go. And then, so he's hiding in the back of the car. They are driving to the train station, and she pulls off into a alleyway at the right time and gives the signal by honking her horn, drawing attention to the car. But whatever, that it's time to go. And Mr. Dietrichson is strangled to death by Walter. And we don't see this happen. We just see Phyllis's face staring forward, smiling. And it's very upsetting and very well acted. It's a great choice for this. Yeah, and it plays out just before the crash sound and On the Run, which I was so upset that it wasn't a sync, because it would be glorious.
Yeah.
But anyway, so they pull into the train station, and now Walter has taken the place of Mr. Dietrichson. He's like wrapped a bandage around his foot. That's not very convincing, but whatever.
No.
To make it look like he's got the broken leg. and has taken Mr. Dietrichson's crutches, and they have a wee chat, and then like going over the last steps of the plan one more time. Walter's like desperately trying to go incognito. His hat is down. He's got a coat on his shoulders, desperately trying to like not look conspicuous. And he gets on the train, goes to the back of the train, like doesn't want his bags helped onto the train and all this stuff. Like he's very, very particular kind of guy. Doesn't want anyone to like get a lasting memory of what he looks like or who he is. This is easily the most dangerous part of this plan. There are so many witnesses on this train, and I guess he's hoping that like no one pays attention to him. But anyway, he goes to the back of the train, and there's a guy out here, Mr. Jackson, who's just a happy little man who's having a smoke out here, and he's like, "Well, howdy, good to see you out here, sir. How'd you break your leg?" and all this stuff. And they have like a conversation, and where Walter's desperately trying to not leave a lasting impression. And Walter's like, "Could you go back to my cabin? I left my smokes there, or my cigars. Sorry, my cigar case." And so Mr. Jackson's like, "Oh, yeah, I can do that for you. I wouldn't make you go all the way back there on your broken leg. I'm a nice guy. See you later." And then goes off to do that. And, Walter jumps off the back of the train. The train's not going very fast. It's going about 15 miles an hour because it's just pulling away from the station effectively. It's not been going for very long. So it's still going quite slow. But it's like far enough away that there's no one around to see this. Then Phyllis is off to the side in the car, and they throw Mr. Dietrichson's body on the track and his crutches, and it's all wrapped up. That's the last of it, and they move to drive away, but the car won't start. Bit of drama here. Very high tension because it's like something that they didn't plan for going wrong, you know? And then, we get Walter starting the car, like leans over and starts the car himself. It's her car, dude. But anyway, they get away. It's very dramatic.
It's every straight man's dream.
Yeah, right.
To start the car that won't start without doing anything different.
If only he started it by like hitting the dashboard with his fist or something, and it started. You know, like
or talking to it about sport.
Yeah, right. That's exactly what he wished. I bet that was pitched in the first draft. And they were like, "No, we can't. It's not in the book. It's not close enough." But yeah, so this like sequence is right at the halfway point of the film, which I'm very happy with. That you see the crime as like the middle point, and then we see it unravel for the rest. So it's just good structure.
It's a lot like their plan is one white light heading towards the triangle, and then it unraveling is a bunch of other light coming out of the other side of the triangle.
I like it. I like that theory. We're in the rainbow zone now.
Yeah. We're on the Rainbow Road.
Rainbow Road. Don't fall off. Lakitu will have to lift you back onto the track. Anyway, so yeah.
He's always lifting us back onto this podcast track.
Yeah, I need to be lifted back on. So yeah. Walter goes home, and this is exactly where we get home again in time.
Very nice.
But like everything is different. Like everything's gone right for Walter here. He checks all the things that he set up. He goes down to the garage to like place himself still at home. Hi again, sir.
Yeah. I've been upstairs
this whole time. LOL. But yeah, like it's really nice having Pink Floyd sing about him returning home.
Yeah.
After this, it just like feels right. And then he goes off to get some food at the drugstore, like he does. But he says this amazing thing here. I really love this. he says he suddenly gets the feeling that everything would go horribly wrong. Like, even though everything had gone perfectly, he gets the feeling at this point that everything is going to go catastrophically wrong. And for the rest of like the week, he feels this way. But he says, I couldn't hear my own footsteps, which is just such an interesting way of framing that. It's such an evocative sentence. I like it a lot.
Yeah, no, it's such good writing. And we can't hear his footsteps because we're listening to Pink Floyd. But like, as soon as he kind of says, "Why did I feel like a dead man walking?" the sad like piano of Great Gig in the Sky starts as well.
Yes.
Like the romp that has been time and on the run is over, and now it's like
that is clean.
The Rainbow Road is lighting up.
Yeah, I'm ready. We also get the like, I'm not frightened of dying monologue here as Keys is like looking into the case and basically giving us his perspective of events. Basically, he sees it as the guy, or this is what the coroner's report has come back, basically, that this guy fell off the back of the train and broke his neck, which I don't think if you strangled someone, it would be convincingly enough that you could break their neck and make it look like a train accident. Like,
I was thinking that as well.
But it doesn't really work, but it's good enough for Keys, so it's good enough for me. But anyway, so that's kind of a hole, but it's not like the hole that you're supposed to be paying attention to. But anyway, so he's talking about it, and they've been called into the big boss, Keys' boss, his office.
Edward Norton.
Yeah, right?
is the character's name.
Yeah, not the actor, because that would be, he'd be like a speck in his father's eye when this is being made. But yeah, Edward Norton here, probably the worst actor in the film, I would say.
Yeah.
Didn't really like him or buy him, but he's supposed to be like a sort of caricature of someone. But
they should have got Orson Welles to do it.
Right? Oh, Orson would be great in this role, honestly. He would never do it.
No.
But anyway, so he is called in here, and basically the boss is like, I don't want to pay this $100,000. Something must be up. It's all too suspicious. And Keys is like, whatever, man. Like, it all adds up in my book. But you go ahead. You do what you're going to do. You've clearly got a big show for us or whatever. Anyway, Phyllis has been called into the office, and this Norton guy just sort of harasses her about the coroner's inquest, and basically implies that her husband's death was suicide and that he threw himself off the back of the train on purpose to kill himself, and therefore the accident policy doesn't apply. And so she plays it up like perfectly as this grieving widow who's infuriated by this horrible thing that Norton is saying, and storms out of the office. And Keys is like, well done. You bloody blew it, mate. You stuffed it up. He ruled out suicide as an option ages ago. And like, his statement here is like, the statistics, they don't add up, mate. Like, it's obvious. Who tries to kill themselves by jumping off the back of a moving train, one that's going at 15 miles an hour? Who would conceivably think that they would kill themselves by jumping off that train? Like, that's stupid, sir. And Norton's like rebuffed and feels really bad about himself, and he's screwed it all up. But anyway.
Yeah. Walks off to star in the first Hulk.
Yeah, absolutely. Walks straight out of the film.
Joins the Fight Club.
Yeah. Congrats to you. I'm sure it'll go well. So Keys is like effectively defending Walter and Phyllis in this case. He's like, Walter's like, I could have kissed you. You are practically on our side. Like, which is very funny. And then there's a bit of a weird scene here where Phyllis makes a call to Walter and wants to come over to see him. Walter's like, yeah, that's probably fine. And then while she's on the way over, Keyes just drops by for a surprise visit to Walter's house. He comes in and he's like, I knew your address from the phone book. And then he says, he's like, something's up with the Dietrichson case. My little man is kicking in. Something's going on. He's saying Dietrichson broke his leg before the accident and didn't claim on his accident insurance. Why? Like, that doesn't make any sense, right? Like, he had an accident at his job, didn't claim on the insurance. Like, that's a great point. Keyes, like, has sort of cracked it here.
Yeah.
And it's so perfectly woven in that you wouldn't think about that until right now. It's so smart.
Yes, right? Yeah. It is. Yeah. It's exactly like pointing out a plot hole. Like, I wonder if they wrote the film like perfectly up to this point and then handed it to a bunch of people to be like, find us a flaw. And then like the real life Keyes was like, oh yeah, there you go. It was, yeah, it's so well done because like I wouldn't have thought of that.
Yeah, it's really clever. And yeah, so he suspects that something's up, that Phyllis is lying, but he can't figure out why. And he's like fairly sure that someone else is involved. Like, he's like something must be up with this. It's ludicrously unlikely that someone would die in the way that Mr. Dietrichson did. It just doesn't add up to him. And Phyllis appears outside the door and like listens in on this conversation. And then when Keyes goes to leave, like to mull this over a bit more, she's hiding behind the door on the opposite side and just tugs on the little door handle to get Walter's attention and let him know that she's there, which is another really good visual. It's too close, man. High drama in this scene. And basically they go in and Phyllis is like, whew, that was close. All right, now let's get to the kissing. And then Walter's like, no, we cannot be seen together at all from now on. Only in the direst of circumstances must we contact each other, because you're going to be followed all the time because Keyes is onto your scent now. He won't let go. And this is not what Phyllis wants to hear, because she wants to be close with Walter, but this is driving them further and further apart. And Walter is like stuck on this as well. Like, he doesn't really care, I don't think, that she's getting pushed away at this point. He's like too wrapped up in the case, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. This only gets more complicated now as Lola shows up at the office and reveals some fairly startling information, and that she presumes that Phyllis is the murderer of her father because she previously encountered, when Phyllis was her mother's nurse, she went in to visit her one day and she was very sick in bed with pneumonia, and went in and all the windows were open and there were no blankets on her mum, and then she like rushed over to like sort that out, and then the nurse appears in the doorway and gives her this look that she'll never forget. And basically, Phyllis killed her mum by giving her pneumonia and slowly killing her, which is fucked up. And this is 100% true and what happened, but of course Lola has no way of proving anything here. It's really it's fucked. But so Walter's like, oh shit, this is really bad, because Lola wants to like testify and let all this information out, so they'll be rumbled. And so in order to calm her down, he's like, all right, let me take you to dinner. And he takes her to dinner into the beach. It's the weirdest plan.
Yeah,
it's so
he hangs
weird.
out with her for like 4 days to make her forget about her father's murder.
Yeah, it's like, remember how I didn't want to get close to you? Well, let's get really close.
Yeah, let me implicate myself in your whole family now.
Yeah, It's really bad. But yeah, he's too close to see that this is a bad idea. Like,
oh yeah,
it's all spiraling out of control. Yeah, so he takes her out, and they sort of develop like a confidant kind of relationship. I don't think there's like a romantic interest here, but anyway, Zakiri has broken up with Lola because they had a fight, and we'll find out more about that later. And Walter like muses into the dictaphone that he couldn't talk to Phyllis about any of this because it would be too suspicious. You know, he didn't want her to know that he'd been talking to Lola, and it's just like this is driving a wedge between them. You know, like it's very good. So we go back to the office, and Keyes has basically figured out the whole scheme at this point. He knows that there was a second man who, there was another accomplice to Phyllis, and they played the part of Mr. Dietrichson on the train. He basically has it all figured out. I don't know how, but
no, he's just that good.
Yeah, his little man has told him, and anyway, he gets Mr. Jackson here to come back, who's still as sprightly and happy as ever.
Oh my god!
And yeah, he describes Mr. Dietrichson to him, and it doesn't fit the description of the man that Mr. Jackson interacted with at all. They're completely different ages, and they look totally different heights, etc.
And Mr. Jackson knows this because he's a Medford man from Medford, Oregon, and Medford, Oregon people take their time. He's been staring at that photo for hours.
What a guy.
Dude took this job to as a side hustle for his main job of being a travel agent for Medford, Oregon.
He's a genius. I love Mr. Jackson and everything that he's about. He leaves the scene saying
he's only
that
about Medford, Oregon.
No, he leaves the scene that he's going to go and see a masseuse.
Oh, that's
while
right.
He's in town. It's like, all right.
And he's getting an extra night thanks to the insurance agency in town.
Yeah, it's really funny.
Yeah. Pink Floyd have never played Medford, Oregon.
Oh. Why is that?
I don't know. They're not trustworthy enough. They make decisions too quickly.
Oh, well. I guess so.
Yeah.
Well.
The Pink Floyd Experience Tribute Act have, though.
Well, that's good. I'm glad.
Yeah, you look at the photo and you realise that's not the real Pink Floyd.
No. The heights are different. They look... These guys are way younger.
Yeah, they're much younger.
Yeah, so there's a bit of fun interaction here where Walter is desperately trying to not look Jackson in the eye because he's worried that he'll get recognized. And then Jackson's like, I must know you from somewhere. You're very familiar.
Yeah.
But he's just being friendly, basically. And then, so he goes, and Keyes is like, well, there you go. My story is coming true here. 2 people are involved, and they think that it's going to be, when 2 people are involved in a murder, they think it's going to be twice as safe, but it's really 10 times as dangerous because one of them's going to crack and see the other one eventually. And when that happens, he'll figure it out. And so he's worried that it's a matter of time. And then, so immediately after this, Walter doesn't even think, and he calls Phyllis to the supermarket to talk because the plan has changed, obviously, and they need to. He wants to pull out, basically. But this is a mirror of the previous supermarket scene, but everything is different here because any one of these people could be one of the people that's shadowing Phyllis. You know.
Yeah.
So it's the same scene basically, but everything is at a heightened degree, which is it's really cool. I think it takes place pretty much on the opposite side of the crime as well. It's like,
ooh,
yeah. So if the crime is the mirror in the middle of the prism, if you will, this is the Rainbow Road's version of that scene. So,
ooh, yeah.
So yeah, basically, he's saying he wants to pull out, and they're getting very short with each other, like yelling at each other and trying to keep it cool here in the supermarket at the same time. And he's saying Lola is gonna like spill the beans and screw everything up, especially about you killing his previous wife. When that gets out, we're screwed. And she's saying that none of that's going to come up. It's all going to go fine. She thinks that he's just worried about getting too close to the case, that Lola has gotten to him and is making him second guess everything because he's too close, and she's trying to convince him to ride it out because they're nearly there now. She says nobody's pulling out, and we both went in together, and we're both leaving together. Straight down the line, Gareth. We cut back to Walter in the office, and he's like, well, at this point, Keys, I was thinking about what if Phyllis was no longer in this story? What if I went and killed her? Wouldn't that be interesting? And then we cut from that to him just catching up with Lola more and more, like they're hanging out for some reason. Yeah. I think this is just
weirdos.
It's just like a sort of Midsummer Night's Dream thing where we've set the couples against each other, or like shuffled them around in a weird way.
Yeah.
Because
they go to the Hollywood Bowl though.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. They go to the Hollywood Bowl, but unfortunately they're 28 years too early to see Pink Floyd perform at the Hollywood Bowl.
Damn it. Always arrive early.
Yeah.
Bloody classic Walter.
They got the best seats, but yeah.
They sure do.
They didn't get to see it.
Oh my gosh. I love that. Right up there on the hill. The perfect view. I'm sure there would be like houses built in the like 28-year interim where they're standing, but whatever.
Yeah. They just build them around Lola.
Yeah.
She's waiting for the Floyd.
Yes. While she's waiting for the Floyd, she explains that Zacchetti has been going over to Phyllis's house and they've been chatting, and she thinks that he is involved in killing her father as well. And so she's worried about that. Yeah. And then Walter's like, no, don't worry about it, love. Don't even think about it. It's all fine. But he's like, oh shit. Like he can't figure out why Zacchetti would be going over to the house at all. That's like a hole in his plan that is like unraveling him. And he's trying to figure that out. It's where this happens over the end of playthrough number 2 as well. So we're ramping up for the final play and the final confrontation. They're leaving the office one day and the final day now, I think. And Keys lets slip that he's pretty sure that he's found his man. The person that's involved in the crime with Phyllis, and that he's going to take them down tomorrow. And so Walter's like, oh shit, okay, I've got to go figure out what's going on. And so he sneaks into Keys's office and plays back his dictaphone of his notes. And we find out that Keys suspects Zacchetti, much like Lola does. He doesn't have an alibi for where he was on the night of the murder by pure chance. And has been being tailed and seen going over to Phyllis's house regularly. And so he's implicated in the murder. So they think it's him. And also, Keys says that he personally vouches while Walter was being investigated by people, and people had suggested that. Keys personally vouches for him and exonerates him from the murder. But he's like, we've worked for him for 10 years, can't be him. He's got an alibi. Like, there's no way. So Walter is basically scot-free from this whole thing. He's going to get away with it. But instead, we get raced towards an early grave from the boys and the Floyd. And he goes to his office and calls Phyllis from his office phone, something he said he would never do. and arranges to meet with her. And he's like, don't worry about keys. It's all going to be fine. Don't worry about it. I'm going to come over. And she like protests a lot, but then arranges to go over. And he's going to go and kill her. and Zakedi. That's the plan for him, to close the loop and get away. And she has plans of her own. We see her turning off all the lights in the house and then stashing a little gun into the settee couch that she sits on with the anklet, just like when they first met, except now with a gun. You know how that happens. And then, so he comes over basically to like gloat to her about how he's going to kill her and then Zakedi and then get away. Like, as if they had a like crime of passion. No, he's going to kill her and frame Zakedi. That's it. And because he's going to come over in 15 minutes and then the police are going to come after him and arrest him. And Walter's going to get away. And she explains what was going on with Zakedi and that she was sort of getting him on side, like convincing him that Lola was seeing another man, which she kind of was, and that she was going to see Walter. And convincing her that she's seeing another man and she doesn't love him, and basically riling him up so that he'll kill Walter for her. And then he'll take the fall for the murder because he's a murderous guy. She could frame him and get away herself. And because that's just her type. She like plays these people against each other and like controls their emotions, you know. That's her deal.
And this is like when you see she's just ice cold. Yeah, it's so cool.
They're both ice cold in this sequence. They're both here to like laugh at the other one,
for sure,
and say how things are gonna go. They're both ready to kill each other and explain like it's the both Bond villain speeches happening at the same time.
Exactly. It's a Bond off.
Yeah. The way Walter describes his plan as well is very elegantly written. He says, the way Keyes describes how murders work is that two people ride the train together to the end of the line, and that line ends at the cemetery. But he's got another guy to take the ride for him, which is just, it's so clean. Like, it's the perfect way to write that. Oh, I love it. So yeah, they explain their plans to each other and then just go like, well, we're both cold and calculating and awful. And she says we're both rotten. She describes Walter as rotten on the first their first meeting, and now they realize that they both are, which is it's quite interesting. Walter goes over to like shut the blinds or whatever. There's damn blinds because there's radio. There's like jazz music playing down the street as like as a soundtrack to the scene. It's weird that they have to explain the music, but anyway, he turns around and Phyllis shoots him in the shoulder. So this is where he gets his wound from, and he walks over to her and he's like, oh, you can do better than that. Like, if you're going to kill me, you do it right. And she says that she didn't love him until right in this moment. Like, when he like stood and took this bullet, and she's like, I didn't think it could happen to me, but I have fallen in love with you, which is so dark and so twisted, like, and presumably genuine, or maybe it's just her like maneuvering, but she has a gun in her hand, so I don't know. But anyway, he takes this opportunity to like come over to her in an embrace, and then wrestles the gun out of her hand and shoots her in the back of the head. So she goes down here, and then he like lays her out on the couch. And he is like he's slowly dying from his shoulder wound. He's bleeding out from this. It will kill him. But he waits in the bushes outside for Zakedi to arrive, and he does the noble thing. He's like, go to Lola, don't go in there. she does love you. Go and see Lola and go and be happy together. It's very interesting because he could still get away with this, like, in this moment.
Oh, yeah.
But he realizes that it's all gone too wrong and he doesn't want to, like, get Lola or Zaketi involved into this because he's, like, has a relationship with Lola now. They've hung out together several times. And he doesn't want her to be involved anymore in all this awful stuff. And so, yeah, he stops Zaketi.
To lose everyone she cares about.
Yeah. So he does the noble thing and, stops Zaketi from going in. And Zaketi's like, what the fuck? Okay, see you later. Weird man in the bushes that I met once before.
I mean, Zaketi's still a trash guy.
Oh, 100%. But, like... he's better than a murderer, so, you know.
That's true, yeah.
We're, like, wrapping up the film now, basically. Walter, we see him, like, lurching to his office and starts recording the confession message to Keyes. And we see him, like, explaining this last part of the story, and the camera zooms out to show Keyes in the room with Walter, which is very clean. Hasn't even spotted him because he's, like, so woozy from the blood loss that Keyes has been in here long enough to have gotten the gist of this story, basically. Keyes is a smart guy. He's figured out exactly what's happened here. Walter's like, he's going to call the hospital to tend to Walter's wound, but Walter's like, no, I'm going to run away. I'm going to cross the border to Mexico, presumably. And get away, and you'd do that for me, Keyes. You're a friend of mine, right? And Keyes is like, you are not going anywhere, man. You are, like, so dead already. He doesn't try and stop Walter, who gets up and, like, tries to hobble his way out, but he doesn't even make it to the elevator. He just, like, gets to the entrance to the office and then, like, crumbles down very dramatically, very sadly, and he's just leaning there dying. And Keyes comes over and, like, very pities him, and in a, like, fantastic reversal, lights Walter's cigarette for him, which is just that's good movie.
It's silk, it's glass, it's ice. It is a big old bite of a good movie pie.
Yeah. So this final scene is covered over by time going into Great Gig. So as Walter is dying here on the ground, we have Great Gig playing us out, and that's the film. It's just, what did you think? How did it sink?
I mean, it's tough to say. Like, I wasn't too sure about these things, but now that you've built me a full prism of glass and the rainbow metaphor, and, like, those scenes mirroring each other did play with the same songs often. So, like, that's cool. And the sad Great Gig, the home again, the finest home again, like, finer than the one in the room.
Absolutely.
I don't know what to say. I numbers are failing me.
Yeah. So
I could give it a, I don't know, a 6?
Yeah, I reckon. Definitely. We're definitely above 5, I think. We're good. Yeah. We're nowhere near perfect. There's not that many things that synced in this movie. No. It was just a damn good movie. But
yeah, that might be it.
Like, but there were syncs there. Like, we're not sub 5. So yeah, I'm feeling 6 on this. I reckon that's right.
Yeah. We're on the Rainbow Road side of the
prism graph, that spans the top of the graph.
Yeah. Oh yeah, if you've been making this graph as a typical line graph, no, it's a prism
graph, you know. Please.
Yeah. Figure that out.
As if we wouldn't use one for our Pink Floyd show. You're crazy.
Yeah, Jesus.
All right. So there we go. That's double.
Yeah, it's a nice triangle-shaped 6.
Yeah. Double Indemnity. There it is. In the books.
Yeah.
What to do now, Gareth? What is the next film on the docket?
Well, the next film on the docket, I mean, I just love the idea of there being, two worlds separated by color, maybe separated by some sort of choice between two colors.
Okay.
And then, like, I also, I want to adapt. I want to watch the film adaptation of one of my favorite Pink Floyd lyrics. Like, my favorite Pink Floyd song is Great Gig in the Sky, and my favorite lyric is Whoa. So, of course, we're going to have to watch The Matrix.
Yes. Oh, I'm very excited for this. Okay.
Oh, yeah. Did that all sound like that was building up to The Matrix?
It did. I clocked it immediately. When the choices between colors came up, oh, yeah. Hell yeah. Oh, I'm very excited for that.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Lock it in, listeners.
Wow. Yeah.
Add us on the socials.
Wow. We better get to... Yes, please. At SyncFloydPod on most of the things. SyncFloydPod@gmail.com.
Yep.
Goodness. I've been Gareth Blackler.
I've been the little man that lives in your chest, James Barron.
And you've been Josh. And we'll see you on the dark side of the moon, Josh.
On the dark side of the moon, Josh. Goodbye, Josh.